Welcome to LFC Transfer Hub. Alexander Isak transfer news. Liverpool target breaks silence to declare he can't continue at Newcastle. Newcastle deny giving Alexander Isak a commitment he could leave this summer as the striker pushes for a move to Liverpool, and say they do not foresee the player being sold, as the conditions required for them to sanction a sale are unlikely to transpire in the final weeks of the window. Liverpool target Alexander Isak says his relationship with Newcastle can't continue, and change is in the best interests of everyone, as he accused the club of broken promises over his future. Hours after the striker delivered his bombshell statement, Newcastle responded by refuting Isak's suggestion he was told he could leave this summer and insisted they do not foresee the player being sold, as their terms are unlikely to be met. Isak's potential sale has always been dependent on Newcastle signing an adequate replacement and a club meeting their £150 million valuation. With less than 2 weeks left in the window, neither of those conditions have been met. Isak, 25, is currently training away from his teammates and arrived at the Newcastle United training ground just after 3 p.m. on Wednesday, the day after he posted the statement on social media. Newcastle added in their reply, "Alex remains part of our family and will be welcomed back when he is ready to rejoin his teammates." Sponsored stories. Personalized content tailored to your preferences. Personalized content tailored to your preferences. Discovery feed. Judd Monty International. Ombudsman stars in York showpiece under William Buick. Judd Monty International. Ombudsman stars in York showpiece under William Buick. Sky Sports. Salford Red Devils cancel Super League match against Wakefield Trinity due to shortage of players amid financial issues. Salford Red Devils cancel Super League match against Wakefield Trinity due to shortage of players amid financial issues. Salford Red Devils said the club has cancelled their Super League match against Wakefield Trinity amid significant concerns regarding player welfare. Salford's financial turmoil has resulted in major uncertainty over the club's future, with the issues leading to a mass exodus of players. Sky Sports. Martin Zubimendi might bring Arsenal more than expected. Matheus Cunha could help Patrick Dorgu thrive for Man United. The radar. Martin Zubimendi might bring Arsenal more than expected. Matheus Cunha could help Patrick Dorgu thrive for Man United. The radar. Sky Sports. Isak's explosive statement said, "I've kept quiet for a long time while others have spoken. That silence has allowed people to push their own version of events, even though they know it doesn't reflect what was really said and agreed behind closed doors. The reality is that promises were made, and the club has known my position for a long time. To now act as if these issues are only emerging is misleading. When promises are broken and trust is lost, the relationship can't continue. That's where things are for me right now, and why change is in the best interests of everyone, not just myself." Newcastle's statement in response read, "We want to keep our best players, but we also understand players have their own wishes, and we listen to their views. As explained to Alex and his representatives, we must always take into consideration the best interests of Newcastle United, the team and our supporters in all decisions, and we have been clear that the conditions of a sale this summer have not transpired. We do not foresee those conditions being met. This is a proud football club with proud traditions, and we strive to retain our family feel. Alex remains part of our family, and will be welcomed back when he is ready to rejoin his teammates." Sky Sports News reported in July that Isak had informed Newcastle he wanted to explore his options this transfer window. At the start of August, Liverpool had a £110 million plus add-ons bid rejected by Newcastle for the 25-year-old. Isak took his frustrations public on Tuesday with an update on Instagram posted during the PFA Awards ceremony, which he skipped despite being nominated for the top prize of Player of the Year, due to his current standoff with Newcastle. He said, I'm proud to be recognized by my fellow professionals with a place in the PFA Premier League Team of the Season for 2024-25. First and foremost, I want to thank my teammates and everyone at Newcastle United who has supported me along the way. I'm not at the ceremony tonight. With everything going on, it didn't feel right to be there. Newcastle have so far failed to bring in a striker to cover the loss of Callum Wilson, let alone ISAK. They have been unsuccessful this summer with attempts to sign Hugo Ekitike and Benjamin Sesko, both of whom were considered potential successors to ISAK, and have very limited options with less than 2 weeks left of the window. Newcastle had a £25 million bid rejected for Yoane Wissa earlier in the window, but made a new bid worth £35 million plus add-ons on Wednesday. Wissa is viewed by Newcastle as a second-choice striker, and his potential arrival would likely not help ISAK get his move. Other than ISAK, Newcastle currently only have one recognized striker on their books in 22-year-old William Osula, who did not start a single Premier League game for the club last season. Analysis: Newcastle have tried to give ISAK his move. Sky Sports News Keith Downey. Newcastle are stressing here that they have been unable to find a suitable replacement for Alexander ISAK, coupled by Liverpool's opening bid falling significantly below the striker's valuation. Had Newcastle managed to sign Hugo Ekitike or Benjamin Sesko, who joined Liverpool and Manchester United respectively, then in all likelihood the club would have reluctantly sold ISAK to Liverpool with an increased bid from the Premier League champions. Newcastle have tried hard to facilitate and give ISAK his wish, but they cannot leave themselves without a recognized striker. Unless something out of the blue comes up between now and the window closing on September 1st, it appears ISAK will be staying. If and when he plays again is another story. What would it take for Newcastle to sell ISAK now? Latest from Sky Sports News Keith Downey. Newcastle talked last night about the conditions of a sale. There were 2 conditions. 1. The valuation of the player is £150 million. That is what Newcastle's valuation is. I still think they would probably do a deal for a little bit less than that. But I think Liverpool's £110 million offer that landed a few weeks ago is way short. So if Liverpool were to really seriously want ISAK, they would have to come to the table with a higher bid. The second is that Newcastle need to find a replacement. They tried on Benjamin Sesko, they tried on Hugo Ekitike, failed on both of those. They're actually even struggling right now, as we can see, to bring in a replacement for Callum Wilson, who left on a free contract. We've been telling you for weeks now that they've been trying to sign Yoane Wissa from Brentford, but he's seen as the Callum Wilson replacement rather than the Alexander ISAK replacement. So they can't even get the second striker in, if you like. If they were able to land Wissa in the next few days, and I am expecting a bid in the next couple of days, and Liverpool came to the table offering £130 million, then Newcastle might have a decision to make. However, it would leave them very light on striker reinforcements. Timeline of ISAK saga. July 15th. Liverpool told ISAK not for sale in this window after making informal approach to Newcastle, and decide to rival them for Hugo Ekitike instead after being rebuffed. July 19th. Eddie Howe reveals after preseason friendly defeat at Celtic that ISAK traveled with the rest of the squad to Glasgow, but he chose to send him home, due to the speculation around him. July 23rd. Liverpool beat Newcastle to the signing of Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt after the Northeast club had already missed out on Liam Delap and João Pedro. July 24th. ISAK is not included in Newcastle's squad for preseason tour of Asia due to what Newcastle described as a minor thigh injury. July 24th. It later emerges that ISAK has informed Newcastle he wants to explore his options in this transfer window. July 31st. Sky Sports News reports that ISAK is training individually at former club Real Sociedad's facilities. August 1st, Newcastle reject an official bid from Liverpool for ISAK worth £110 million plus add-ons. August 2nd, Newcastle make formal bid to RB Leipzig for Benjamin Sesko worth nearly £70 million, and ISAK later flies back to the northeast after his personal training camp in Spain. August 4th, the striker returns to Newcastle's training ground for the first time and has trained separately from his teammates ever since. August 4th, Newcastle upped their offer to RB Leipzig for Sesko amid interest from Manchester United. August 8th, Newcastle boss Eddie Howe says, "We would love the player to be with us," about ISAK after he misses friendly win over Espanyol at St. James Park. August 9th, Manchester United beat Newcastle to the signing of Sesko despite their offer to RB Leipzig being lower. August 16th, ISAK not included in Newcastle squad for Premier League season opener against Aston Villa, but Howe says, "Door is well and truly open" for a return. August 19th, ISAK skips PFA Awards and releases a statement on Instagram accusing Newcastle of broken promises, telling the club, "Change is in the best interests of everyone." August 19th, Newcastle released a statement in response to ISAK, denying that promises were made to allow ISAK to leave and insisting they would welcome him back when he is ready to rejoin his teammates. Cara critical of ISAK's behavior. Sky Sports' Jamie Carragher speaking last week. "I don't like the way he's going about it, and I don't think any football fan should. There is nothing wrong with wanting to leave a club. That's the nature of the game. Players leave clubs every summer, but you work as hard as you can and play the games. You can say you want to leave. I understand the players' frustration and a bit of bitterness because of the money on offer, but I don't think you can get to the stage where you don't train. I'm not that fussed on Liverpool signing him. He's better than Hugo Ekitike right now. But it almost feels like what PSG or Real Madrid tried to do a few years ago, whereby they try to sign all the best players available. Liverpool don't do that. There are other areas Liverpool should use that money." Nev, ISAK should be angry with agent. Sky Sports' Gary Neville speaking last week. ISAK should be angry with his agent. It's unsavory. I feel sorry for Eddie Howe. ISAK wants to win trophies and is agitating for a move because he's got one career. I can see both sides. He's got 5 or 6 good years left. It looks like this guy is downing tools and saying he's not playing, and I don't think that is right. Newcastle have to stand strong here. If you're the club, it sends the wrong message to sell after what has happened. I think they have to keep him for another year because the precedent will be dangerous for Newcastle. On the other hand, Wissa, Newcastle make improved £35 million bid plus add-ons for Brentford forward amid Alexander Isak saga. Newcastle have put in an improved offer worth £35 million with add-ons potentially taking the deal to £40 million. The Magpies saw a £25 million bid rejected earlier this summer. Wissa is seen as a new backup striker option with the future of star forward Alexander Isak still uncertain. Newcastle have made a new bid worth £35 million plus add-ons for Brentford's Wissa. The add-ons are understood to be worth up to a further £5 million, which could take the total to £40 million. This came after new contact between the two clubs on Wednesday. Newcastle had a £25 million bid rejected by Brentford for Wissa earlier this summer. Wissa was absent for Brentford's opening weekend fixture, a 3-1 defeat to Nottingham Forest, with Keith Andrews confirming his absence was linked to the speculation around the forward's future. The West Londoners have already lost Brian Bumo to Manchester United for £71 million, captain Christian Norgard to Arsenal, and former head coach Thomas Frank moved to Spurs. The 28-year-old was, however, seen in Brentford training on Tuesday. The Bees' next fixture is a home game against Aston Villa on Saturday at 3 p.m. The new bid for WISSA comes after more uncertainty regarding Alexander Isak's future. The Newcastle forward put out an explosive statement on Tuesday night regarding his transfer standoff, saying his future with the Magpies cannot continue over broken promises made by the club. This is after Liverpool saw a £110 million bid rejected by Newcastle earlier this summer. ISAK has not yet featured for Eddie Howe's side in matches since Newcastle returned to preseason duty. He has been spotted at the club's training ground and arrived just after 3 p.m. on Wednesday to continue this training away from the first team. The Magpies do not expect ISAK to be sold this summer, and say he will be welcomed back to the fold whenever he is ready. What does WISSA deal mean for ISAK's future? Sky Sports News Keith Downey. If Newcastle sign 2 strikers between now and the end of the window, and that's unlikely in the time left, which Newcastle alluded to in their statement, then Alexander Isak is likely to go. But if they get one striker, such as young WISSA, and Liverpool make an eye-watering offer for Isak of around £130 million to £135 million, then Newcastle might have a big decision to make. There is an outside chance of Isak's departure happening in those circumstances, but it would leave Newcastle very light on striker reinforcements. It's going to be a very tense last couple of weeks. It feels like a line in the sand was drawn from both parties last night, and Newcastle's stance on the issue has hardened on the back of Isak's statements. There is a feeling that Isak has done himself no favors by making that statement.
Thanks for watching. Like and comment and subscribe.